planned. You guys done this. You guys are moving together, but that doesn't mean anything when it comes to fighting.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
Where are you at actually?
This is my house. I got a cage in my basement. Here's my gym. We call it Mom's basement because that's my house.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Damn, not many guys out there with a cage at their gym.
I'm committed, bro. Committed.
Well, your dedication, yeah.
Yeah.
Some gyms don't even have cages, right?
I know.
So it's like...
That's why I have one, man, dude. Fucking, I'm sick of all you going to these gyms that don't have cage. The place I train at right now doesn't have a cage. I'm like the only place that has a cage in the Northeast right now. It's ridiculous.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But anyways, let's get into this fight coming up, man. Your second shot at the Contender Series. But I want to go back. I want to rewind, to a little over a year ago after the Francis Marshall fight, man. When you walked away from that fight, when you flew back home, how were you mentally?
So, I mean, I wasn't too upset with my performance, to be honest. I mean, obviously I wanted to win and I could have been better, but I showed myself a lot. You know what I mean? I showed myself that I can go through a war with a good fighter like Francis Marshall. I'm not going to back down. I needed to see a lot of things. And I think a lot of other people needed to see, what I was really made of instead of just finishing these guys. So, and I saw a lot of holes in my game that I needed to work on. So, that's what I've been doing the last year. I completely changed up camps and I've been, working my ass off, changed a lot of stuff in the way I fight. And I'm feeling it. I feel way better than I was last year. So I kind of need it. It's like, one of those things that you don't know until you know. And then, now I know.
You mentioned, switching camps. Now I see that you're with the New England Cartel. But you always been training with them, right?
Yeah. So in the way the cartel's in the North Shore of Boston, and I live on the South Shore. So I've trained with them many times. Usually on Saturdays or something, we meet up and we'd spar. But I wasn't training day in and day out. So since then, I used to be training at Lausanne MMA, and now I'm training at New England Cartel with Tyson Chartier, full on. So it's been really, really good. You know what I mean? It's totally different when you get top 10 level guys on you every single time in practice. I used to only get that experience every here and there, and when I really got that consistency working with those high level guys, it's been a complete game changer that I needed.
When did that exactly happen?
So I started, I think it was, what was it? So my last fight last year was in August. I came home. I took a little bit of time off as soon as I started moving up there. So I had my whole last fight camp for Dana White's looking for a fight with the New England Cartel. And so that was, a good 2 or 3 month fight camp going into that. Had that fight, and then been there ever since. I mean, my last performance was one of my best performances as well. I just changed a lot of things. I was more of a jiu-jitsu-y kind of background growing up underneath Joe Lozon. And now I've changed my mentality, more wrestler based, and I just continuing to work with those guys. Just my striking has gotten better. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned the fight after that, right? 7 months later, you actually competed for Combat Zone.
Yep.
That was the Dana White looking for a fight episode,
Yep.
right? And
yes.
You go in there and you get the first round finish. And people, fans, they're always interested to see how fighters respond after their first professional loss. What were the nerves like during that fight?
I feel like I was a lot more confident in my abilities, just because obviously the train up and who I started training with, and then it was also I've been on the big stage, kind of fighting at the Apex, and I felt that pressure, which is a lot more stressful than fighting on a local show. So going back to a local show and fighting, I felt so much more comfortable. Even though Andrew Cruz was a pretty good fight, I think he was 8-3 going into the fight. Good wrestler, so I definitely took the camp very serious, and but yeah, it was easier. Once I got out there, I felt more calm and relaxed than I've ever felt in any performance I've ever had.
Yeah, and also having Dana White there again.
Yeah,
right? That could be nerve wracking as well, because the first time it's like, man, I didn't really do much.
Yeah,
I didn't show all my best, and this time it's like he's here again.
Yeah,
that whole situation.
But that's going to say, like, this again, like, from this year, it's my third time fighting in front of Dana White. So it's kind of what I'm expecting now. You know what I mean? I'm getting used to fighting on that stage with all the pressure, and I think that's one of the biggest things. Like, this sport's 90% mental. I know so many good fighters in the gym who just can't put it all together on fight day, and for whatever reason. And I think that's the thing. The more you get exposed, the better you get, the easier it is to perform.
Yeah, there's a huge separation between the people that look really beautiful on mitts and then people that actually can fight.
Absolutely. Totally different things, and you can look great on mitts. You've been working with the same coach for 5 years or 10 years. I mean, obviously you're gonna look. You guys are gonna have every combination planned. You guys done this. You guys moving together, but that doesn't mean anything when it comes to fighting.
And Andrew Cruz, man, he was a really, really good opponent, man. I expected the fight to actually go longer than it did, man. You went in there and really just, had no kind of jitters or anything. You just went in there in first round, over.
Yeah, pretty much dismantled him with you know what I mean. We did exactly everything I expected. He even stood the way I watched film on him, and I just kind of, we had a game plan to set, and it worked to a T. You know what I mean? That's another thing, is just like getting the experience of sticking to the game plan. Sometimes when you get with these big fights and then the lights, people kind of go sporadic in their brain and they go away from what they've been working on the entire camp. And I think that's one thing. That's why Tyson Chartier is probably the got coach of the year in 2020, is because he's really good at implementing and sticking to a game plan and making sure you're mentally ready, prepared to get into that fight. Instead of just kind of like being all of it. He's a good coach throughout camp. You're listening to him in training, and when you go and perform, you hear him back in their head. So you kind of stick to the things, you know what you're supposed to do, and you kind of get in there, do your job, and get the wins.
Yes, and it all leads you up to this fight, man. Contender Series
Yeah,
2023. Man, I don't know how you say his name, but I'm gonna try Jair Farias. He
that's how
comes
I've
in
been
with
saying it.
undefeated record. You know what I mean? Looks pretty solid. It's a solid test. You know what I mean? What have you found out about him, and what do you think of the skill set?
What I've looked up, he looks like a striker. He's tall. He's 5'11", so it means he's got that really wide stance, good hands. So I mean, that's what I expect. I don't see too many submissions in any of his fights. He doesn't look like he likes the grappling portion of the fight. So it's an MMA fight, not a boxing match. So we're gonna make it. We're gonna bring the places where we need it to go to get the win. And I'm just gonna, I'm pretty confident in my ability of striking as well. I mean, I know I had that tough fight with Francis Marshall, but overall, my striking, I know, can top with the best top fighters in the world, because I do it in the gym. It's getting it together on fight day and performing.
Between fights, I mean, I know the cartel, they like to go to other spots and train. You know what I mean? You guys are kind of like the traveling crew, right? It's you guys have a home, but you guys travel all over the place. And were there any spots that you actually got to train at, and you really benefited from some of the interactions?
So right now, we had that Rob Font down in Miami fight. So I went down there with them, and we kind of trained. I spent like a week down there training with them, and we hit a couple, trained together in that area. But right now, Calvin's he's coming back from his knee injury, so he hasn't really been in the gym as much as Rob has. Rob's been pretty active lately with the Corey Sandhagen fight and the wherever fight was in Miami. So um, we've been kind of home based. Like we just moved gyms. Actually, we got a new facility we're training at. We were training in this really small area up in a mill. Now we got this new gym. It's a full on wrestling gym. We just moved our mats down there to add on to it. It's a huge, big new area. So I think that we've kind of found a home spot now, and it's been really good. So I think we're going to be staying here a lot more and trying to bring the people up here. We need to get a powerhouse gym in the Northeast. That's what we know. All across the country, there's big gyms everywhere, and New England is one of the. We have quite a few guys in the UFC, but they're all sporadic and they all come from these little gyms. We need to get everybody working together in one big room with the top level guys, competing, training to win fights, and that's what we've been doing. So
I think I saw Tyson like post a video of like the new gym. Was
yeah,
it yesterday or the day before? Where he was just going through and like panning across, and it was just like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
yeah.
And it's like more people are sparring. I'm just like, oh, you guys got a lot of people in there.
Oh yeah, we've really opened up the doors. The cartel used to be kind of very close knit. You know what I mean? It was like Rob and Calvin, a couple other guys, Nick Fjord, Tom Pags, and because we didn't really have the space, to be honest. And since I think a year ago, kind of when I started coming back, joined the team, they've been opening their doors to get more people in there, which has been like huge benefit. It's a tough room too, man. There's like a lot of good guys, and we're building new guys right now. So it's been really awesome. The new gym is beautiful. It's like we used to kind of have to like we were in such a small space. You have to worry about bumping into other groups when you're training with them, which kind of messes up the flow of the drill. You know what I mean? You want to be able to like keep that drill going. So now we can. There's no problem with that. We're whenever there's no you're not running into anybody. You're doing blasting your full on takedowns. You're defending full on takedowns. So you can really have that space to be able to work.
For sure. And, watching Calvin, for the last year or so coming back, what I mean? And he's kind of like at the spot where you want to be at, right? At the top of
Yeah,
the division.
absolutely.
And watching him go through a major injury and then come back and you're so close to him, what I mean? You must learn something from that, right?
1,000%. It's inspiring. You know what I mean? Like that's what you want. That's what I look up to is Rob and Calvin. You know what I mean? They're doing what I want to do. So seeing how they interact, just to see, just seeing the things they do and the way they train, that's who I can emulate. It's not just a blank slate. You know what I mean? It's like I have a game plan. If it's working for them, it can work for me. I just got to listen to them, and especially with Rob and Calvin, they're always giving me like, hey, they're giving me tips and whatever different things to do, and very valuable stuff that helps me in it when it comes to MMA. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, man. And 14 months, man. You fought since then. You switched teams. You've worked with a lot of high level people. Where do you feel like what piece of your game do you feel like, okay, this one is like really like elevated since my last fight?
Yeah, I really hate to say, but I really think that's like, I mean, my striking and I have a new striking coach as well, Pete Luciani, and he's a local guy from around here, but I've been working with him consistently for a year, and he's grown my striking game to a whole nother level. I still work with Jake Manini, who's the cartel coach, who's Thai. He does more Thai style, so I've been working a lot more boxing style because in that Francis Marshall fight, that was the problem. It was the boxing, and I got touched up a lot because he kept on hitting. So we've been working nothing but defense and working on not getting hit. And then on top of that, with my wrestling game, like I was a jiu-jitsu guy, like hunting for submissions, working off my back. And the game of MMA, that's not what you want. You want to be on a top pressure kind of guy. So I really focus on that, and it's been a huge, like 180 out, man. Like that's like that. I was kind of like doing individual things, but not really putting everything together the way I should be. And now I'm putting everything together the way it should be for MMA. And I needed to find out. And so, yeah, man, I really believe I'm like double the fighter I was going into I just didn't know, now I know, and I'm ready to go. So I'm excited. I know this guy's a good, tough opponent. He's 10-0, big, you know what I mean? It's a challenge opponent, but I really feel like I can compete with the guys at the top of the division. So he's just another guy that I'm going to have to go through to get to where I want to fight. If I want to fight Brian Ortega, I want to fight Volkanovski, I want to fight Yair Rodriguez, these guys are amazing fighters, and that's who I want to compete with. I should be able to take out this 10-0 kid. No problem.
Yeah, man, it's the best of America versus best of Brazil.
Yes, sir.
That's what kind of Contender Series is turning into, right? They're taking the best of like who they can find in each country.
Yep.
And I think that's a great concept that they should probably change it to.
Yeah, I love that idea. Yeah, and it's like, they should be more, even uniforms. I should have American pants. They should have Brazil pants. They should. I like that. That'd be awesome because that's what it is, man. And you know what I mean. You're trying to, and these guys, it's like that junior level. You know what I mean. We're all trying to fight in the big league, but we're competing at each other at the junior level. Yeah, man, that's what it is. I'm fighting the best prospect. It's not an easy way to the UFC. It's fighting Contender Series at all, man. You're getting funneled into getting the best prospects, the future of the UFC, all bottlenecked into one area, and you're gonna fight some savages. Like I fought Francis. Francis did good. His first fight, he won. He got a knockout in the second round. I thought he won his second fight he had in the UFC. He ended up getting a split decision. Went to the other guy. In his last fight, he had a tough fight, but he's competing at the top levels. So I know, I gave him he didn't finish me, you know what I mean? I gave him a war that fight. So I know I can fight that top level, but I know him so much better. I wish I had what I have right now last year when I fought Francis Marshall.
Yeah, you see guys fight each other all the time, you know what I mean? And they meet, and then one guy beats the other guy. But that guy that won, his career really didn't go anywhere. But the guy that lost, he somehow was impacted tremendously from that loss. And then next, he's in the UFC for the next 5 years, and the other guy was cut 2 fights later. We see it all the time, man.
Yeah, it happens, man. You just got to
crazy.
Do it, and it's definitely. And I actually trained with Francis. Actually, after my fight, I went down to New Jersey and I trained with him. And his kid's an animal. The thing with him is he's so young, he might have had a couple tough fights, but he's only 23 years old and he's already where he's at. So he is like, I didn't come back to the sport until I was 26, 27. I took all that time off. So he has, the world's, sky's the limit for that kid. I think he's going to be really good. Even if he takes a couple of losses, figure out, he's going to be a really good UFC fighter as well. He's a big
All
boy.
right, man. Yeah, man. That's great experience and watching him do his thing. What are you gonna do? What are you expecting out of yourself in this fight coming up? It's a big spot for you.
Yeah, I think this kid's going to be a good kid. I don't expect a fast finish, but I expect me to dominate the fight overall. And it's going to be, I'm going to drown him and bring him into deep waters. And, if I get the finish, I get the finish. I'm going to be pumped, knock him out. But if not, he's going to get drowned. I'm just going to keep a pace that he can't keep up with. And I feel sharp in all departments. So I'm not worried. It's not a boxing fight. It's an MMA fight. So hope he's ready for it.
And, the first couple of weeks have passed of the Contender Series, and pretty much everybody that won has gotten a contract, except for one of the women last week. She won. She didn't get the contract. Everybody thought she should have got the contract. And then she's booked 3 weeks later
for the UFC. Yeah,
for the UFC short notice, man. That's a good sign though for Contender Series fighters though.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that's the thing, dude. Like, a lot of these, I know so many guys. Terrence McKinney, I knew him before he lost his Contender Series fight, and then he came back, and he's had a great showing in the UFC. He's got a 7-second knockout in the UFC. I know a lot of guys who lose their Contender Series fights, and they get picked up for whatever, a short notice fight, and, they do very well. It's a fight. Anything can happen. There's two people going to that ring, and only one person's going to come out a winner. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't define you as who you are. I don't think, because some people, as we do think that in MMA, because that's kind of MMA culture. Like, you think, oh, one loss, that's it, that guy's done. You know what I mean? It's, if you go into Thailand, these guys, they don't even talk about their wins and losses. They just say, I have 250 fights. You know what I mean? They don't give a shit about, because anything can happen, anything. So if you let that define who you are, that's just, you wanted a way out of the sport. I love this sport, so I don't give a shit, man. I'm going to go in there and perform at the best of my ability and go in there and, and take a run at the top level this UFC, because I know I can do it.
All right, man. October 10th, Contender Series, UFC Apex. Connor, thank you so much for the time. All the best in the fight, and hopefully, when we speak again, we will be, talking about
the UFC fighter by then.
Exactly.
All right, let's go. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.